and welcome to a brand new studio vlog. If you haven't joined me before, my name's Emma and I run a company called Sunshine Lane where I design stationery and gifts that are all themed around spreading positivity and encouraging self-care. I have been very busy of late. If you've seen my recent vlogs, you'll know that I did my first trade show in January. And it feels like January is normally a slow start to the year, and I can kind of spend that time getting organised for the year ahead. And that just hasn't happened this year. So even though it's February, all the people who have fallen off the wagon with planning and things already seem disorganised and New Year's resolutions seem like a distant memory, this is a place for you, because I am going to be getting organised for the rest of the year. I think it's so important to be organised in your business, particularly if you're a small business and maybe it's just you like I am at the moment, or if you have someone else working with you, then you need systems in place to capture all the information and make sure that you know what you're doing when. You can end up wasting a lot of time going back to that planning phase and trying to figure out what it is you're going to do this day, week, month, whatever it might be. And I am a big believer that not having to switch back in and out of that planning mode does make you so much more productive. If you do all your planning up front as much as you can, then all you've got to do is turn up and follow the plan. You haven't got to keep going back to that mindset of figuring things out. So that is what I am planning to do in this video. People keep asking me what my plans are coming up. Have I got plans for XYZ? And I keep saying it's all up here. Well, it needs to get out of here today, and it needs to be in some sort of logical order so that I feel organised and I know where I'm going. I've got some sort of roadmap for the rest of the year that feels a little bit more tangible than thoughts floating around my head. So that's what we're going to do. So the very first thing I am going to do is a sticky note brainstorm. I am going to grab my sticky notes and I am going to write down all the different things I can think of that will fall into this year, or that I want to fall into this year. So I'm going to look at kind of national, international events, things like I normally do something around autism awareness in March, April, because I am autistic. Events that I know I'll be attending for my business, time that I know I'll be spending away from my business, like holidays. I've got a 2-week holiday in May. Projects I'd like to work on, whether it's learning something new, things to improve the business, working on a social media platform that I don't do a lot with, like all these different things that you kind of might want to introduce during the year, and product launches. So how many product launches do I think I'll do this year? Where can I fit those collections? And then when I know the time of year, I can kind of think around specifically which ideas I want to put where. So that is my plan. So let's grab the Post-it notes and get scribbling away. That didn't take me that long at all, and you can't see my face now, but this is what I ended up with. I will zoom you in so you can have a look at it properly. So this is the plan that I came up with, and I just roughly split the page into a grid and put the 12 months of the year on. Obviously January's passed, but I just wanted to record what I'd focused on. I've done different coloured Post-it notes. The business coaching that I'm a part of kind of talks about different parts of a customer journey, and so I've kind of color coded them depending on what I'm working on, because I think it'll just be useful for me to look at that when I come to do my coaching. So that's what the colors are all about, but you don't have to worry about that. You could color code it in any different way, but what I basically did was, these yellow ones are like specific events that are happening throughout the year in terms of like Mental Health Day, Autism Acceptance Month, like stuff like that. And I've got a 2-week holiday here. And so it's events to be aware of that I might want to do some content around, do some products related to, and so on. I've got trade shows and events, like planner events in here. Weirdly, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be doing 3 trade shows this year and 3 events, and they fall in couples. So 2 in January, 2 in July, 2 in September, which is really weird. So I know they're going to be really busy months just with those. And I do like to tie in product launches with events. So those months are going to be very busy in terms of things happening, which kind of means the month before needs to be fairly free, because that's when a lot of the work and the preparation is going to get done, if that makes sense. So that's why there's like pockets and then nothing in August, and then kind of another cluster, nothing in October, another cluster in November. It's kind of gone like that. So every other month will be busier in terms of things coming out, final results shared, like new products, new content, actually going to events that are booked and so on. And then there's particular projects on here that I want to work on. So like, for example, I want to do new product photos. That's quite a big project I'm doing this month. A lot of my product photos need updating because they've got my old branding on the packaging and stuff. So that's something that I've been putting off. I'm also launching a podcast this month, so keep an eye out for that. If you're not on my email list, I'm going to leave a link in the description below. Not only do you get freebies that I don't share anywhere else, but it's a really good way of keeping up to date when new things are released. So for example, when the podcast comes out, I'll send it all the information on my email list. So I'm going to leave that link down below. And then the kind of lime green, again, it's other projects I want to work on, like improving my search engine optimization. I did some of in January. I want to look at doing some collaborations this month. So yeah, loads of stuff. So with that done, I am going to start moving things across to Notion. Now, I did a video, I believe about 18 months ago, where I compared Notion, Asana and ClickUp in terms of project management systems. And I said in that video that I was going to keep you updated because Notion was the one that had come out on top for me, and I was going to keep you updated on how that was going and how I was using it. Haven't created a video on it since. However, I have been developing that system behind the scenes, and it's still not 100% where I want it, but using it over time, I'm able to see what works, what I actually find value from, and what I need in there that I haven't already got. I just think it's so important to have those systems and have a single place to capture everything, and I can access it on the go, which is really handy. I can access it like on my laptop, my tablet, my phone. It's just really useful to hold all that stuff that's like the big picture planning and all the information that trying to hold in your head is just really exhausting. So while I very much enjoy being a paper planner person in terms of kind of daily, weekly planning, the bigger picture stuff, I just really find it handy to have digital. So I'm going to give you a bit of a sneak peek into my Notion system and explain how I'm going to capture all this information. So let's head over to Notion. So to give you an overview of Notion and how I'm using it at the moment, this is the dashboard that I've created for Sunshine Lane. And it has basically an overview of things I need to see for the week and quick links to get me to other parts of the Sunshine Lane Notion setup. So it's a lot different than when you last saw it, although some things have stayed that have been useful. So I've just set myself up with a little dashboard. I've just got a little clock and calendar here so I can see where I am. And then every week I have a space where I write in my top 3 priorities for the week, just so I keep being reminded that these are the things that have to stay at the top of the to-do list. So there might be other easier tasks or fun tasks that I want to do, but these are the things that I need to prioritize getting finished. Then I've got quick links to all other different areas of the hub. And then this task section filters my tasks for which are on the list for today. So I've just got a really quick view of what's on the list for today. So you can see filming the vlog and doing my planning on the list, and those are started. And then again, I've just got some quick links down here. Some aren't links yet because they're areas that I want to work on, and I've just put a reminder. And yeah, this is very much still changing at the moment. And then I've just created like a little sticky note area here for really quick reminders. If anyone was a Blind Date fan, then you will understand. Here's our Graham with a quick reminder. It just makes me chuckle every time I see it. So that goes there. So this is what you see like when you first go in. Now, something that has stayed since the very first setup is my projects area. So if I click on that, then you will see these are all the projects that I've currently got set up. And this is where I will be adding all of the things that I brainstormed earlier, and they will all get their own section so that I can start breaking down the tasks for each one. Things get broken down inside the project, but this just gives me an overview of projects that I am working on, and this does filter through to other places that I'll show you. So if we go back to the hub, then my tasks section, I just have a dashboard in here that filters this week's tasks, upcoming tasks, so that's tasks for next week, and then someday tasks is a place where I can put things that are ideas that I'd like to work on in the future, but they're not a current project, they're not a current task, they're just, it's a place to keep those ideas that they don't really go on the to-do list because you're not ready to do them yet. So they're tasks that I'd like to get around to, and then when I do my like monthly reviews or quarterly reviews, I'll review those and think like, is it time to do this yet? Or actually, if I change my mind, I don't want to do them at all. So again, it's a place to capture things so that they're not either on scraps of paper or rattling around in my brain. And then my content hub has stayed very similar. So this majorly needs updating as part of this planning exercise, but I would have in here the content plan for the month in terms of videos, any ideas for reels, TikToks, anything like any kind of content, emails, anything like that will go in here. And so I know what is due when. And then in terms of tasks related to those bits of content, you can see like the vlog tasks are showing up here for this week. And then again, it'd filter for next week. So that is that. And then I have an ideas zone where I put ideas that, again, they're not in the calendar yet, but they're ideas that I'll possibly schedule in the future. And then tasks, again, is just the tasks related to the content. So I've got my content area. The brand hub contains all information about branding, my colours, fonts, etc. The knowledge base is a place where I dump all information that if I've been on some training or like a webinar or I've done some research on something, it goes in there so I can search it and find it again. It doesn't just get lost somewhere. And if I've made handwritten notes, then I just take a picture of the page and pop it in there. And then my wholesale dashboard is to do with like wholesale customers and stockists and things, so I can't really show you that. But the area that I do want to show you in more detail is my plan it out area. So I have some quick links down the side so you can go straight to my tasks, my projects, my content hub, because those are 3 areas that obviously I'm delving into planning for those. And then this button here, new monthly review, it starts a new review at the end of every month and kind of adds it to a little database where I keep those. And then because, if you know me, you'll know that I'm a big fan of quarterly planning. I have got the quarters for this year set up here and an ongoing, so things that are actually a running thing. I wouldn't have many of those. Normally I'd try and keep it within the quarter, but it's things like my business coaching that's ongoing. That's where you would find projects on that. Underneath, I've got some of my goals, and then this little area I've started at the bottom came off the back of a video I did last year on how 2023 went and all the things that I did in the year and things that I achieved. And I said at the time it was a bit of a mammoth task, but also quite hard to remember back to the beginning of the year, and that I wanted to keep notes month on month. So I've set up this little area here, achievements in 2024, to capture those things. And I've filled in some things for January. You can just toggle them on and off. And for February, I've already added in a couple of things, which is really, really nice. And I just plan to put lots of things in here, whether it's big or small, and just celebrate the things that are going well. So I think that's something that can really keep up your motivation. And it's nice to look back on. So if I go into one of the quarters, you can see that this is how I've set this up. So this is what I'm going to be filling in next, really, is, again, it's got these quick links that are really handy. But then for each quarter, I've set it up with a little kind of sticky note area for the 3 months in that quarter. And I'm going to be popping in any key dates right in these. So a lot of those dates that I just came up with on my plan, they will go right at the top of the quarterly page here. Then projects I'm working on this quarter, this is set to filter any projects that are marked as whatever quarter this is. So Q1 projects, so I'm going to be releasing a Skillshare class this quarter, so that's coming up. And then wholesale and business coaching, they're ongoing ones. So it'll bring up ongoing and ones for that specific quarter. Then I've put remember your goals, and it's got the goals in here again. And if you click on those, there's more specifics, which again, there's some kind of personal and financial information in there, so I'm not going to open those now, but I can do deep dives into this system and how I set it up. If that's something you'd be interested in, seeing the different areas and seeing different videos on, for example, how I plan my content using Notion, how I project plan using Notion, do let me know. And so this is where I am going to be really working today, focusing on what's happening each quarter, breaking it down into the projects that I'm working on, and then right down to the individual tasks and everything I need to do to make those things happen and make it a reality. So let's get started filling in some of these dates. So once I have a page for a particular project, what I will do is, if it's relevant to any goals, like if it's going to help me complete a particular goal, then I would add that in there, and then it would show up under that goal that, this project is going to help you get there. It'll automatically pull through what quarter it's for, but you can change that if you wanted to. And then I have these templates here, so one for a product launch and one for just a general project. So if I click the project one, it will pull through that template that I showed you before. So I've got space for project notes, space to add my tasks, and an evaluation section at the bottom. So I keep these and then I look back on them if I'm doing similar projects in the future. I have these different buttons here for different types of things. So if this project is an event, if it's a product launch, if it's a presentation, then if I click those buttons, it will generate a particular set of tasks that I can then drag into my task list, and it saves me having to write them all out, which is really handy. However, this is a totally different type of project than any of the ones down here. So I'm going to add in a few tasks. If you look at the different options you can select, this is where I've got tasks showing in different areas, like my someday list if the type is someday, it'll pull through to there, if it's for a project task, if it's for some content, and so on. So it allows me to see easily what the tasks are for and group things together so that it's easier to kind of do a batch of things together. But it also helps in filtering different tasks in different places. So it's just one massive task database, but you can filter it in different ways and see the same information in different ways depending on what you're doing. I always set a duration, how long I think the task is going to take me, and this helps me when planning what I can fit into particular days, because I'll only schedule so many hours per day depending on what else is going on, and then I can kind of drag the tasks around my calendar and see that. So I always try and overestimate because I know I always get it wrong. So let's say an hour for this, 2 hours for this, maybe an hour for this. So these are some initial tasks that I want to do for the podcast. So let's say we're going to work on the podcast tomorrow. So I'm going to do those. I'm going to try and do all those tasks tomorrow, but we'll see. And then as I'm doing that, it will generate more things I know I need to do, and I'll populate this here. But I'm going to try and block out the afternoon to do that. And then for now, that's all I need to do with that project. So if we go back to my projects, Easy Launch Podcast is now a project, and I'm going to keep going and just fill in some of these in. So after a lot of tweaking and inputting data, I have made a lot of progress. So let me show you. So this is my Plan It Out page, like I showed you before. It's got the quarters on and ongoing projects, goals, etc. So if I go in quarter one now, every single quarter has got this top section filled in with dates. Where I've got product launches and I haven't decided a date yet, I've just put that there's a project launch, but I need to decide on dates. And then projects I'm working on this quarter. Something that I thought about was, say if an event is like right at the beginning of quarter three, you're going to want to work on it in quarter two. So I didn't want to be going into quarter two and it wasn't showing. So on the projects now, I'm selecting which quarters I'll actually be working on it. And then this little date here is like the actual deadline. So when do I expect this project to be done by? So that's how I've juggled that. So I've got the projects I'm working on this quarter. So it includes next year's calendar, even May's project launch. So things that aren't happening till later, but I plan to do bits of work on them in this quarter, so they're here, so I can get an overview of all the different things that I'll be working on outside the kind of day-to-day. And then within that, I've started to add in some tasks. So for example, if we open the 2025 calendar, doing the wall calendar this year was a lot of work, like for the 2024 one, and something I said I was going to do was do a couple of designs per month, like a couple of illustrations, and have it done by middle of the year. Now it's already February and I haven't done 2 in January, so that hasn't happened. So hence why I want to actually be getting things in the calendar. So I've basically set 2 hours kind of every 1 or 2 weeks to do some illustrations. I've only put one in May because I'm going to be away 2 weeks of May. So that's going to be a busy month anyway. June's a quiet month, so I've got more in June. yeah, you can see I've tried to kind of balance it out. So I've already started inputting the tasks for certain things, but on my list to do is definitely to input all the tasks. That's what I'm going to be doing for the rest of the day. So 2:15, you can see the same. I've got my dates up here. So I've got my birthday, my South Korea trip. There will be a product launch. There's no key dates in June so far, hence why I'm doing more of the calendar. And yeah, you can see there's more to be worked on here because there's events in Q2 and in Q3, so it's going to be a busier time of year. And really these pages just show me an overview of what is the key work I need to be doing right now. Like I can go into my projects section, I've got it open here, and all those post-its are now a project on here to be planned out in more detail. So I've got a home now for all the tasks, the planning, the brain dumps, all the things, any materials to do with these projects are going to be saved in here. I've got a space for them. So I can come and look at all my projects, or I can come into just the specific quarter and think, right, shut out that other noise. What is it that I just need to be working on in these next few months? And so here it is. So I plan to go through and populate each with all the tasks. If we just look at the others, I've got Q3, there's some events in, and again, things I'm going to be working on, and my ongoing ones show up every time. And then the same in Q4. Don't know why I'm proving it to you that I've done it. The same in Q4, which is obviously a lot quieter because this will be including things that will be happening next year. And so something I've actually done in my projects is I've put in, one of my projects is a big plan. So like I've done today, I plan at the end of June to do it again. And obviously when I'm making plans for the next 12 months, I'm someone who plans in 90-day sprints anyway. I don't necessarily think you can really make any detailed plans past sort of 3 to 6 months. But really, I just wanted a roadmap of like things I know that I'm going to hit this year. So as it gets closer, what I haven't done in the past is then schedule in the time to do this project again in terms of getting organised for the coming period. And so then it starts to drift and I've got no plans and it starts to get all messy in my head again. So every 3 to 6 months, I'm going to schedule in another big plan. And so then I'll be able to tweak what I've already done now, make sure it's all still relevant, and then add in plans beyond that and just keep it as a rolling activity. And that's a system that I really want to put in place. Now, as a lot of you know, me and my husband are going through the process of trying to adopt, and hopefully we will become parents this year. And so this plan is very much going to change. I don't know when and where it's going to change because the timescales are obviously unclear. It's not like being pregnant and you know when a baby's coming. So I'm essentially planning the year, but I'm planning it knowing that some things are going to have to move and shift. Some things might have to go completely on the back burner. Maybe I don't do as many product launches. Maybe some of those nice to have projects will fall by the wayside and they'll be kind of pushed back onto that someday list and scheduled for later. But for now, I am just planning a year in business, and as and when I've got more information about that, I can tweak the plans when I know what time I'm going to need to step away for. So those of you that have been following that part of my journey, that's why I kind of haven't blocked out any chunks of time here, is because I just simply don't know when that's going to be. So until I've got that information, just carrying on as I am. But it certainly won't be the first half of this year. So when I get round to the time of doing another big plan, I'll hopefully have more information. And I'll just be able to tweak things and move them around. And that's something I like about Notion, is that I've now, like I said, got these containers where I can put all the information about different things. But if I need to quickly move it somewhere else, I can do. And it's just easy to move and reschedule things around other commitments. So that's something I've really been liking. So that's my quarterly plans done. The projects are all associated with the quarters. Lovely. And then a page that I've just added in is this yearly overview, because while it's good to see the quarters, and that's how I normally like to work, it's just nice to have an overview of the year. And these are actually synced from the quarterly pages. So if I update it here or there, they will be in sync with each other. So it's not that you've got to write things out in two places. You can just view the same information in different ways, which is another reason I love Notion. You don't have to keep writing out the same things and duplicating it. You can sync blocks in different places, view the same information different ways. And so when I just want to zoom out and have that big picture look at 2024, this is where I'll come. And then I can head back to my planning section. So what I plan to do for the rest of the day is start really breaking down these projects into their individual tasks and really starting to schedule things into my calendar. So something I used to have in my tasks section was a calendar view, and now I don't, and I'll show you why. So this week's task has definitely increased. So all those things I added in to do with the podcast, I've got things to do with taking new product photos, those kinds of things. They're all in here, and upcoming tasks for next week. So that's fab. I used to have a big calendar view, but I don't now because Notion has brought out their own calendar app. So if I open Notion Calendar, this is the new Notion Calendar app, and I'm still very much getting to grips with it. However, I really, really like it. Something that was missing from Notion before was you couldn't really integrate different calendars together. You could have a calendar of your Notion tasks, but I quite like to see, if I've got any personal appointments or whatever, then I was having to put them as a task in that database as well as in my own calendar. And I just don't like doing things twice. So on this, I've actually integrated it with my work calendar, my Google Calendar for work, my Google Calendar for home, which includes a joint one with my husband. And so I can see my schedule and what I've got to work around, like what concrete events I've got to work around. And then if you go down here, you can see I've integrated it with my Notion workspace, and the master to-do list is on here. I can also toggle my content calendar on and off and see where I've got things. And with all of these, you can toggle them on and off if you just want to focus on one thing. But I've got everything on at the moment. And what has happened is all these purple bits, these are all those tasks that I put into Notion for this week for various projects. Now, these two are ones that I'd already done, and I'd set specific times to work on them. So I'd blocked out 3 hours on Friday to work on this. So what I can now do from here is I can look at all the tasks that have been assigned to this week, and I can drag them onto the calendar and decide which days I'm going to work on stuff. And it's really going to help me with time blocking. I didn't have this functionality before, and I was having to use a roundabout way that was a bit of a faff. And obviously the good thing again is you can move things around, and whatever you move around in here, it'll update in Notion and vice versa. So it's all linked. We haven't got to do anything twice. So we know that I've been business planning this morning, so let's pop that in as well as filming. And then in a minute, I'm going to start editing. So let's say I'm going to edit for the rest of the day. So that's this schedule done. Tomorrow, I've got an appointment in the morning, and then I'm going to want a bit of a break. So after that, I know I want to do my podcast tasks all together. So I'm going to give myself half an hour for that one. Let's say an hour for that one. Half an hour, and so on. So you can see what I'm doing here. And then, oh, what's this task? You might ask. You can click on Open in Notion. It'll open that specific task. I can see what project it's for. I can open the project. I can get all my notes from there. Obviously, I haven't got any in here yet, but whatever it might be. and then you can just flick between the two. So it's really, really easy to link things and do planning in one and scheduling in another, but they join together. So again, it's such a new app. I'm still getting to grips with it, but I'm excited to find ways that it'll be useful. So something really important to say is, when I was doing this before in my old convoluted system, something I didn't do was leaving space for things that aren't scheduled like this. So this is really good for projects that I'm working on and I need to carve out time where I'm not out and about doing other things. I need to carve out time to actually work on these projects and get the specific tasks done. But there are a lot of things to do with the day-to-day running of my business that I don't schedule in this way. I kind of pop them in my daily routine as I need to do them. So processing orders, planning for the week, doing my accounts. Some of these things I think I need to set up recurring tasks for and block out time in my calendar. So I am going to do that. But again, things like answering emails, bits of admin, taking phone calls, all those things that take time in your day. The dog needs to go out. I want to make a cup of tea. Something unexpected crops up. And for me as well, health. So I have a chronic illness and I work around my health condition. So it's great being able to drag and move these things around, but something I did before was overschedule. So really, I think I need to be only scheduling these types of tasks for maybe half of the working day. And I'm going to trial that and see how that goes, because previously I was trying to say no more than 6 hours, but then things were either taking longer or unexpected things crop up, or I was busy and I had to squeeze more in. And then once you've added the kind of day-to-day admin of running a business on top, yeah, it's just not going to work. So you're not going to have any work-life balance, and that's not what we want. So I'm thinking maybe 4 to 5 max, probably 4, just because I know stuff happens, and see how we get on that front. And instead of thinking, oh, well, it doesn't fit, so I'll have to cram more in, I probably need to say, oh, it doesn't fit, so set the boundary. That can't be done now. What's the priority? And work it like that. So what do you think of this system? Do you use any kind of digital planning systems to manage your business? I'd be so interested to know what you use and how you use it, and which bits of this system you think would work for you or not work for you. I'm always interested in what works for other people. Perhaps you do something that I hadn't thought of, or perhaps you think, oh, I think you're duplicating something there, or oh, that seems a bit of a nice to have, but would you use it? Always really fascinated to hear people's opinions. And if there's any areas of Notion you want me to explore how I use in more detail, because obviously I gave you a whistle-stop tour of the different areas, but I can go through different areas in more details, then do let me know, and I will plan some more videos for you. So thank you so much for joining me for this video. Leave me a like and subscribe if you want to see more of this content. It really, really helps my channel to grow and get in front of new people. And I will see you very, very soon for another video.